Well, now we have the business going on in Israel and Gaza as well. I've heard people saying this could be the end of Israel. What do you think?
Depends on Israel at this stage. They're just as I have tried to outline the situation in the United States as it pertains to Ukraine and potentially other places. It also, frankly, pertains to Israel. We've sent or dispatched two carrier battle groups. That's about all that you're going to see show up. I don't see any evidence that we'll send very many forces ashore, even if the Israelis ask for it, which they normally do not. We don't have significant ground forces to send. You could send a battalion of Marines there, but that's a gesture. It's not going to be meaningful. The army that we have today is smaller than the force the Israelis are assembling right now to deal with Gaza. The Israelis are assembling an army of 470,000 because they've called up 320,000 plus reservists. Now, what are they going to do? That's the real question. And right now, it appears that Israel is governed largely by emotion, not reason. And that's understandable. The horrors of the last 2 days in the behavior of Hamas, which is sadly nothing new. We saw that with the Islamic State, did many of the same things. But now that it has happened to the Israelis, the world is shocked. I'm sure Europeans are somewhat shocked, but then again, you have Muslims in your country, and we're quite aware of the violence of which these people are capable. What Israel has to think about are the consequences of widening the war. This thing is not contained. And the Middle East, the Near East, is also different today from what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The states are actually stronger as entities. The populations are much more aware of what's going on around them. They have more influence over their governments. And then, of course, you have the Turks, who somehow or another escape notice because the Israelis obsess over Iran. We have no evidence whatsoever that the Iranians triggered this operation by Hamas. None. This was stated by the National Security Advisor, Sullivan, one of the first intelligent things I heard him say. And virtually everyone else in the West who's looked at events has said, no, Iran is not behind this operation. Now, the Iranians lent some assistance to Hamas from time to time, yes, but Qatar really finances Hamas, and Qatar also finances Turkey. And Turkey is the leading Sunni Muslim country in the region and probably in the world. To tell you that the Turks are quietly enraged by what they see happening would be an understatement. Mr. Erdogan is watching all this very carefully. He's raised questions about the carrier battle groups. The Iranians have said very little. The Iranians have said, certainly we support our brothers in Hamas, but the Iranians are not rattling any sabers, and they certainly aren't making any threats to Israel. On the other hand, everyone else in the region is. Hezbollah has said that if the Israelis go into Gaza in strength, as they have advertised, that Hezbollah will attack Israel. Well, the Hamas had 5,000 rockets to fire. Hezbollah has 40,000 rockets to fire. Hezbollah is infinitely better trained, much better forces, poses a real threat from the north. Then again, you have Syria, which is a weak state, but under certain circumstances, depending upon what the Israelis do, it is not impossible that the Turks will find a way to intervene. And this brings me back to Egypt. Egypt has said it wants to remain neutral. And unfortunately, the Israelis have told them that if you send an aid convoy to Hamas, well, we will fire on it. We won't allow you in. That would be catastrophic. And now they've already tried to push as many of the Palestinian refugees that are in Gaza into Egypt. That hasn't worked because the Egyptians have no place to put them. And if you put them into the Sinai, how are they going to be housed? We're about to go into the winter. Where are they going to live? Ideally, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates have always had the resources to resettle these people, but have never been interested in doing so. So it's a terrible situation, because there's not much the Israelis can do to make the situation in Gaza better for the people that live there. There are problems inside Gaza that are actually independent of the Israelis. At the same time, Israel needs to reassure itself that everyone in the region around them really does hate them. They need to understand that. And you don't want to give your neighbors that hate you an excuse to attack you. So focusing like a laser on Gaza is important, but you've got to be careful what you actually do, because it could get worse. And I would not rule out, if Egypt is somehow or another dragged into this, if they are attacked in some way by the IDF, and I hope to God they are not, I think that the first person to visit the Egyptian government will be Mr. Erdogan, with a promise of immediate military assistance and support. I think that would be the end of it.